Chapter 5. This is how men really feel about marriage. All right, this is the chapter where I explain why most men, especially the good ones, have a hard time with commitment. In the previous chapters, I touched on the subject a little. But in this chapter, I will go further into detail. Keep in mind that I am not speaking for every last single man. I cannot accurately do that. However, based on my own experiences and the majority of married and unmarried men that I know and have come in contact with, I believe I have come quite close to hitting the nail on the head. Okay, as I stated in the last chapter, imagine you were shopping for a car, and this was the last car you would ever own for the rest of your entire life. You would want to get the best car you could possibly get for the amount of money that you had. The fact that this would be the last car you would ever drive, the last car that you would ever sit in, and the last car that you would ever ride in will weigh heavily on your mind. Whatever problems were discovered after the purchase of this car would be irrelevant, and you would be expected to stick with that car no matter what. Even after many years pass, and there are several new makes and models with better body styles, more fuel efficiency, and faster engines, you are still expected to stick with this car. Even if you have the credit and the money to purchase a new one, you are still expected to keep this car. How would you feel? If you are like the average person, you might be a little confused and unsure of what you want. Therefore, you would first shop around for a while and test drive a lot of cars. Maybe you will find a great deal on a car you love right away, or maybe not. Your credit score and the amount of money you have to spend would be one of the major deciding factors on how picky you are during this process. If your FICO score was high and you had a lot of money, every auto dealership would allow you to test drive. Therefore, you would probably desire to test drive as many cars as possible before choosing a car. The problem is, there are a lot of cars to choose from right here in the United States, not to mention all of the beautiful foreign cars. So even if you find a car that you like, let's say it's a Mercedes, you might still be afraid to purchase it because you're not sure if the Audi is better. And you don't want to regret buying the Mercedes 2 or 3 years later. It all boils down to fear. Fear of wanting another car and not being able to have it. Fear that the car that you buy will start to malfunction and become a headache. Fear of being unhappy and having no way of escape. Truth be told, most men do not have a big desire to get married. They would be perfectly happy just dating the same woman over a long period of time. Usually, when men get married, it's because they know that it is desired by a woman that they love, or a woman that they are afraid to lose gave them an ultimatum, or they are really religious. Religious men may desire to get married because they constantly feel the conviction of the Lord, as well as the congregation of their church. Therefore, they do not want to live in sin for fear of the Lord and fear of being judged and looked down upon by their family in Christ, or whoever their God may be. Either way, most of the time, there are other elements that influence their decision to get married. It's almost never personal discretion, and here's why. As I stated in chapter 1, there are 3 things that motivate men: power, money, and pussy. Power and money perpetuate the ability to get pussy. Therefore, pretty much everything that men aspire to do and have is influenced by the desire to get pussy. Truth be told, if there was no such thing as pussy, men would not care about money. Don't get me wrong. Enough money to provide the basic needs of life, as far as food, clothes, and shelter, would definitely be desired. But anything beyond would be unnecessary. If there was no such thing as pussy, it would not matter to men whether they worked as a doctor or a garbage man. The drug organizations would have a 90% drop in employment. All the rim shops would go out of business, and Elliot Spitzer would still be the governor of New York. Seriously, what good would being rich and famous be if men couldn't have sex? The only reason men aspire to become powerful and make a lot of money is to attract women. Men buy expensive automobiles, expensive jewelry, $500 jeans, and $1,000 suits to attract women. Even if they are in a relationship and have no intentions on being unfaithful, they still have the need for women to be attracted to them. I don't know why, we just do. And this behavior of doing ridiculous things to attract women is taught to us at a very early age. Due to this, the majority of our lives is spent either striving or dreaming. Not everybody has the drive to strive. Of becoming rich and powerful. Beautiful women are kind of like the prize trophy for becoming successful. I assure you, as vain as this statement is, it is the absolute truth. If you were to research all of the great kingdoms since the beginning of recorded history, you would begin to notice a pattern. All of the kings and rulers would have women that were considered the most beautiful for that time and culture. Often, they would have more than one. During those times, there was no rap music, there were no music videos, and there was no television to influence these desires. Yet, all of the powerful men of the past have required power, wealth, and pussy. Listen, ladies, I know many of the things I'm saying may be a little hard to swallow, and you might have a hard time accepting my words. But trust me, I am not making this shit up. My hope is that you will use this information to your advantage to obtain the type of relationships that you desire, or to assist you in your decision making to help you avoid making a lot of relationship mistakes that I often hear about from Black women. Okay, just wanted to say that. Now back to my point. Due to the fact that pussy is the root cause of everything that men do, marriage makes men feel, well, for lack of a better term, dead. I know that sounds extreme, but it's true. Once you are married, you have forever given up your right to pursue pussy. Many men lose their ambition and drive after marriage. This is because the motivation for their ambition has been taken away. Those men that continue to escalate their goals and remain ambitious usually end up having affairs. Take a minute and think about all of the rich and powerful married men that end up the topic of some huge sex scandal. You ask yourself, what were they thinking? Why would these guys risk their home life, their positions, jobs, and their salaries for sex? If you don't know the answer to those questions, then you obviously have not been listening to a word I've said. It is simple. Pussy holds precedence over the power and the money. Most men will say that the power and money holds precedence over the pussy. And they are kinda right, in theory. However, due to the fact that pussy is the driving force that causes men to want the money and the power in the first place, which of the three is the strongest force? What they mean to say is that the power and money should be well protected in order to ensure an unlimited supply of pussy. So now that you understand how important pussy is to men, let's further examine the psychological effects this has on men in regard to marriage. As I stated earlier, beautiful women are like the prize trophies for achieving success. How beautiful the women are is usually in direct correlation to the level of success that the man has achieved when he acquires those women. For this reason, most of the men that are married prior to becoming successful have wives that are less attractive than the men that acquire their wives after they achieve success. Men that get married before they obtain a significant level of success are the most likely to become unhappy in their marriages or to have affairs and leave their wives. This is because psychologically, men equate their success with the attractiveness of the women that they sleep with. This is also why many men appear to be agitated and irritable when they have wives that are less attractive than the wives they once imagined they would have. For most men, an unattractive wife or girlfriend is a constant reminder that you are unsuccessful. In the last chapter, Don't Be Hating on the White Girls, I stated that, based on my research, I found that a large amount of Black men that were involved in interracial relationships and marriages expressed that Black women were not interested in them until they became successful. I personally found this statement to be true based on my own experiences as well. Here's the truth, ladies. When choosing men, you have to use a little foresight. While I do understand that most women would rather be involved with men that are successful, the trick is to find a man that is on his way to becoming successful, but that has not achieved success. This is because once he makes it, 9 times out of 10, he can now do better than you, or at least he will think he can. Therefore, he will be out test driving cars. Success allows men the privilege of dating and sleeping with the type of women that they always desired but could not obtain prior to becoming successful. Therefore, once a man is successful, the chance of him looking for a commitment is dramatically decreased. However, if you are with a man before he makes it, he will know that you believe in him and that you love him instead of his success. Even though he might still cheat, he will still see you as special and he will respect you a lot more than he does the other females. I often hear from successful women that they do not believe in the traditional union of marriage, which has the man as the head of the household. This is confusing to most men, including myself, and should be confusing to women as well. Since most Black women are attracted to aggressive men and require their men to be domineering, it doesn't make sense to say that you don't believe in the man controlling the household. That is a conflict of interest. Either you want a man's man or you don't. It is impossible to have a dominant man that doesn't dominate. That doesn't make any sense. It is unreasonable for women to expect men to act in a traditional manner when it comes to marriage if women are not willing to act in a traditional manner as well. All too often, women that have been involved in long-term relationships with a man that has not proposed marriage decide to deliver ultimatums. Let me tell you, that is the stupidest thing on the planet. If a man really wants to marry you, then he won't need an ultimatum. If a man has been with a woman for 3 or 4 years and he hasn't married her yet, there is something about her that he feels like he can't deal with forever. He may really love her, but deep down, he really doesn't want her. There could be several reasons for this. Most of the time it is looks, weight, sex, or attitude. When men decide to marry women as a result of ultimatums, there is usually a reason that he is afraid to lose the woman. It may be child support, insecurity about being able to date other women, convenientness of the current living situation, etc. Whatever it is, any woman that gets married to a man through force or intimidation is desperate. And that is such a turnoff. Why would anyone get married to somebody that doesn't want to marry them as well? Today's society has caused women to become more concerned with being married rather than having a productive relationship. The original institution of marriage was simply a verbal and spiritual commitment between two individuals that was sometimes made in the presence of family and friends. I believe that the involvement of the government within marriage has corrupted the very fiber that the marriage concept was built upon. Once the opportunity for financial gain and potential for financial loss based on the success or failure of the marriage was created, the basic principle was lost. Don't get me wrong. I obviously believe in the principle of marriage due to the fact that in August 2010 marked my 7th year anniversary. However, I do feel that the concept of being legally married is dramatically overrated. A couple of months ago, I attended a relationship forum. The participants were couples ranging in ages varying from 25 to 40. During that time, many relationship topics were discussed, and one of the questions posed was how different from dating should marriage be? The person meant dating as in committed relationship, but unmarried. My answer was no different. If you are truly committed to someone, a piece of paper doesn't make you any more committed than you already were. All it does is make you have to suffer a consequence should you decide to leave the relationship. It entitles you to assets and power of attorney should one of you become ill or pass away. As far as building stronger relationships, it does absolutely nothing. My wife and I resided together for a year prior to getting married. Despite the traditional rules, we chose to do this because the only way to truly learn close to everything about someone is to live with them. I personally believe that knowing almost everything about someone is necessary in order to have a productive marriage. After we were married, nothing changed except that I knew it would be harder for me to leave her if I ever chose to. Marriage did not make me any more faithful than I was before. Marriage did not make me love my wife any more than before. Marriage did not change our attitudes, her cooking, the way I did the lawn, our sex life. As a matter of fact, I think our relationship was more fun and healthier before we got married. I believe that the reason for this is the feeling of being trapped and restrained is psychologically depressing. Depression causes stress, and stress causes irritability. Irritability causes more arguments. Frequent arguments lead to unhappiness, affairs, and ultimately divorce. Traditionally, it has been stated that most women desire to marry for security. I believe that statement is still true for most women. However, there is absolutely nothing secure about marriage. If a man chooses to cheat, marriage will not stop him. The only thing marriage does is prohibit an individual from leaving someone that they no longer want to be in a relationship with, without having to accept the consequence. Ask yourself, why would you want to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to be in a relationship with you? Anyone who wants to live their life in that situation, I'm sorry to say, is desperate and pitiful. I personally know 3 men who have stated to me that they have plans to leave their wives once their children reach the age of 18. The only reason that they are staying is because they recognize that they would have to split everything that they have worked for. And child support expenses would make it very difficult to live alone in a comfortable manner and still possess their current living standard, as well as possess the financial resources to date other women. Basically, it's cheaper to keep her. Take time to view Relationship Needs Chart.